This computer. Welcome, welcome. Today I am joined by Gemma Hall from TeamYOU Coaching. Gemma is a relationship coach who doesn't just work with couples, but she works for them, helping individuals find their voice, set boundaries, and make confident decisions about their relationships. Oh my God, what a job to have. She's also known for her straight talking, deeply empathetic approach, and I'm really excited to chat with Gemma. Gemma's a member of two of my women groups. So we've been connected for a little while now, and the work she does is absolutely amazing. And I know Gemma and I will go around the houses and talk about all the different things that we don't plan to talk about, but this will be an awesome conversation to listen to if you're watching. So welcome, Gemma.
Thank you, Vicky. Lovely to be
We
here.
we were just chatting, saying we haven't actually physically seen each other for ages, but soon, hopefully soon.
Absolutely.
For anyone that's like never come across you before, and I'm sure there will be some people, can you believe it? There will
Yes.
be some people that have not heard of Gemma Hall. Can you tell us a little bit about Team You and who you help? I think it's a good place to start.
Absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a relationship coach who doesn't work with couples, but I do work for them. Now, what that means is I work with the individuals within the relationships because I strongly believe that we need to be able to communicate, not just to express, but also to hear and receive information in order to move forward. So, my whole passion, the whole purpose behind Team You is feeling like you have that person in your pocket who is going to tell you what you need to hear, even when you don't want to hear it, who's going to help you move forward with momentum and actually take action. And so really that's what Team You is all about. It's your cheerleader, your champion, your coach, but with a little bit of a kick up the backside as well.
I mean, I say this to kind of businesses that I mentor with all the time. Everything I do is with love. You
Yeah,
might not like, and I'm imagining you're the same.
yeah.
Everything is said with good intention, but sometimes you might not like what I'm saying.
Yeah, so
And
you'll quite often hear me say, I'm going to challenge you on that. So people will tell me something that they're feeling or what they perceive to be a fact, whether that's a belief about themselves or about their partner. And I'm just going to challenge you on that. So people
I
always
guess
get a bit,
after people have worked with you for a little while, they're like, "Oh, here she comes."
yeah.
Brace myself. I think. I mean, I think it would probably be fair to say that most people will realise when they're being challenged because
Yeah.
most of us know when we are kidding ourselves, don't we? And it's just somebody else going, "Yeah, let's just shine the mirror at that," and yeah, put a torch on the spotlight. Is this something that you've always done, or have you come to this through another route?
So actual relationship coaching has absolutely been a journey to get here. So I've had a lot of lived experience as well as my professional experience, and the two just kind of aligned really, really well to bring me to this space. So my professional background, I spent many years in HR, which is where I developed some of my qualifications and my coaching skills. Then I spent 15 years running my own business, which was working with 16 to 18 year olds, um, which was where I developed my straight talking, big compassion, but getting to the crowd, learning how to break down a 16-year-old's walls quickly is
Yeah,
really important. And all of them need something slightly different. Some do
yeah.
need a slightly softer touch, some do need that sort of straight talking approach. So I spent 15 years working with 16 to 18 year olds, and that really drove me to setting up Team You because I was supporting young children, young adults, I should say, who were carrying a lot of core communication practices from their home, or their parents were in separate homes and they were caught in the middle. And I was just
Yeah.
like, as much as I can help these young people, and I can, um I want them to go home to an environment that supports them because they spend a lot more time there. And so that kind of drove me to want to work with, so I qualified in divorce coaching as well. So I was originally started out as a divorce coach, but then the people that were working with me were referring me to friends who weren't divorced, um, but were just struggling. And
Yeah.
so I evolved into this relationship coach, and I work with a lot of parent-child relationships as well as romantic relationships. So it's not just when we say relationship, we quite often think of our romantic partner, but
Yeah.
actually it's all relationships and the skills that we develop. apply to professional relationships, personal ones, romantic ones, friendships, because it's all about communication at the end of the day. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It is, because I know you've helped one of our members with her relationship with her son,
yeah.
and it has just changed the dynamics. I mean, my girls, are back at home, but they've been gone for a little while with traveling and university, and we're just getting back into the rhythm of like having four adults in the household again, and
Mm,
having to almost like rethink how our communication happens. Because every morning when I say to my daughter, what are you up to today? She immediately thinks I'm going to give her a list of 10 jobs to do. Well, I kind of am, because if she's not
yeah.
got any plans, she's not lying in bed all day.
Hmm.
Um, but it's how I ask that question, or how prickly I get her back. So yeah, as you say, it's not just about my relationship has broken down. How do I either fix it or exit it?
Hmm.
It could be all forms of communication. And I guess if we had communication nailed, life would be so much easier, wouldn't it?
Oh my God. Even every job I've ever worked in, whenever there's a staff feedback survey, the number one thing that's always the biggest challenge, communication. As long as there are multiple people, every relationship breaks down and at its core is communication. Like I say, something I say that can be quite controversial, is that an affair is not the reason a relationship breaks down, it's the symptom of a relationship that's broken down.
Yeah,
And not everyone likes to hear that. But I believe it's, ultimately it starts with communication. And that could be, I say the death of a thousand eye rolls. Every time we don't speak and we
I'm going to
just
share that
roll
with
our
my
eyes.
husband.
Yeah, definitely that. And it's true though, it's all of those um,
Mm,
micro slights that we ignore that build, and we sweep under the rug until the rug's taller than the house. Like it's just all of those micro things can add up. Sometimes there's a big explosion, but ultimately communication is, I believe, at the heart of it. And we're not taught to communicate. And I think particularly as women, we're taught not to rock the boat. We're taught to be people pleasers. Smile, don't cause an argument, or ultimately, we aren't taught how to communicate and have healthy conflict. And it's not, many people are not brought up to see healthy conflict in their homes. Either the conflict happens behind closed doors, so they have no idea what conflict even looks like because parents don't argue in front of their kids, or
yeah.
it's not healthy conflict. So they don't see the resolution, or they don't see the apology, or they just see the big arguments and that's it. And they don't see, what comes later. So healthy conflict is something that we're not really taught. But that doesn't mean we can't learn it.
Yeah, I must admit, I did say to my husband this morning, when we were having breakfast, I said, "You're in a much better mood today, and I don't want you to take that as a slight that I'm having a dig at you, but what has changed in the last 24 hours, and then be able to have that conversation with him without it turning into, like, why do you think that? What's, going on?" It's interesting, isn't it? I have always had a thing that people have always said to me, "Oh my God, the kids have learnt the eye roll already, at a really young age." And
Hmm.
I guess that is a copy of seeing it from a parent. Oh
Absolutely.
my God, I'm gonna be thinking about that for weeks now. Death of a thousand eye rolls.
Definitely
Um,
has morals.
Definitely. So when people come and work with you, well, what stage are they at? Are they kind of, I'm at rock bottom and I've got to do something about it now? Or are people fairly open to starting to go, do you know what, something's not working or something's not right, therefore I'm going to do something about it?
It really varies. So I work with people post separation who are at rock bottom. Perhaps their partner's just told them it's over and they're leaving. They might have just discovered an affair. Like people who are literally on the floor, broken and cannot see a way forward, or they're consumed by rage. That anger that this person has done this to them. So I absolutely work with people who are rock bottom, but I also work with people who are just like, I'm getting close. Like I know things aren't okay and I don't know what. So they're frustrated, they're like they've lost their voice, they want something to change and they don't know how to change it on their own. Perhaps they've suggested couples counselling and it's fallen on deaf ears. They're sick of being the one who carries all of the mental
Yeah.
load, but they don't want to throw a hand grenade into their relationship. They don't want to leave, they just want it to be better. um So I wouldn't describe those people as rock bottom, but certainly very frustrated and feeling very powerless within their life, like life is happening to them. And that's what's, I would say, common across all of my clients, is that they feel like life is happening to them. They have no leverage over their own life or their own relationships, whether that's their child. No matter what they do, they're getting loads of
Yeah.
attitude back, or they're really anxious. I've supported some parents and their teenagers with anxiety. I'm an anxious person, and those really sort of unhelpful labels that can create a sense of powerlessness. And I would say that's the main theme across clients, is that they feel like they've lost their power. They've lost their voice in their relationships, and they don't know how to move forward. How far deep into that, it
Yeah, they
varies.
actually are. Yeah, they're in kind of like that eat, sleep, repeat mentality and going,
Yeah.
is
Is this
this
it?
all there is to it?
Yeah.
I'm putting up with it for a period of time, but then like all of us, we have those moments where we're like, this isn't enough, or there's
Mm.
something different I've got to do about this. I mean, I'm quite happy to share, I'm on my second husband.
Hmm.
I call him my current husband because I like to keep him on his toes. He calls me his first wife, but I guess my first relationship was relatively amicable. But I
Hmm.
think having someone like you, if I'd have known you back then, just having someone like you in my pocket to be
Mm.
able to go, he's saying this, what does he really mean? Because I
Mm.
I come from a family that wasn't really taught communication either.
Hmm.
Um, there would be lots of arguing in our household. And that's all I ever really saw. So communication was loud
Hmm.
and tearful, and kids were sent upstairs. So I think if you're watching this and you can resonate with any of that, just having a conversation with Gemma, because you offer a free
Yeah.
30-minute um
Express coaching session. Yeah.
express coaching solution, just to talk through some of those things to see how you can help, because of the power that you want to give people back. Is that why you called your programs, you use the word power in your programs? You've got the power of one, haven't
Yeah.
you?
Yes, I've got the power of one and the power of you. And because I honestly, hand on heart, have seen time and time again that in a relationship, it really does take one person to make a difference. Now, someone might be sitting there and going, but I've told them what they need to do. I've communicated, I've said all the things, and they're still not changing, they're not listening. And I would say, well, ultimately, the communication isn't landing. What we're doing isn't landing. But I genuinely believe one person can make a huge difference in any relationship. Now, that doesn't mean every relationship is savable. Some relationships have run their course and are not meant to be forever. And let's be honest, why would we use longevity as a measuring success stick of success
Yeah,
in a relationship? I just fundamentally disagree with that. But I do genuinely believe that we all have so much more power than we give ourselves credit for, and evidence makes us feel like we don't, but that just means we're wielding it wrong. We're not, we haven't learned the skills to master our power. We haven't learned how to have healthy boundaries, why, what the consequences are, how to communicate them, like what our values are. There's so much that stops us from living in our power. But yeah, I don't want clients to need me. Like, I want people to work with me for a short period of time, because I want to have equipped them with the tools to go out there and live in their power. They may check in and top up or whatever, but my goal is that people don't need to work with me, because they walk away and they go, I've got this. I know
got this.
how
Yeah,
to stand up for myself. I know how to advocate for myself. I know how to have healthy communication. I know how to model to my children what I want for them in their future. So yeah, power is definitely what drives me. Yeah.
and is the power of one something that you do with you one to one? Is it a group program? Is it an online program? How does the power of one work?
So the Power of One came about because I want to access as many women in particular as possible. And I only am one person. So one-to-one work was limited. I initially done it as a group program, but what I noticed is it's like I'm asking people to be really vulnerable,
Yeah,
and what's really interesting is I think relationships are still the thing we talk about the least. I've just recently been away with a big group of friends, and within that group of friends, several of us, our relationships have broken down over the last 5 years, and yet, you know, it's still the thing that people feel the least comfortable talking about. They're far more likely to talk about a health issue or a job issue or than their relationship, because there's that real sense of failure when it comes to our
Failure. Yeah, I was
relationships.
going to say that's probably the word that would come to mind for me. That
Yeah,
actually I failed at something, and
yeah,
that doesn't feel good to talk about,
no,
because you then, you need to be vulnerable, don't you? And there's a certain amount of
absolutely.
shame that's attached to that.
That's the word. It's that shame. And shame is such an isolating emotion. And so I'd done it as a group program and the feedback was fantastic, but I still knew I was missing something. So what I'd done is I then translated it to online. So what it means is you get 6 recorded sessions with a workbook. So you get activities because it's all about forward motion, but you get access to it for a year. So you have me there on a pre-recorded video, but it is the power of you. So it's all about building blocks that take you to making. So the power of you is about the person who doesn't know what way to turn. So it's not going to tell you whether to stay or to leave, but it's going to give you the tools to figure out what you want and how to get there. And I've done it so that if you want to sit and do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can sit and do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. It can be our dirty little secret. Like no one needs to
I don't
know.
know, yeah,
No,
that's
and
going
that's
on.
what I think was really important. I wanted people to be able to do this at their own pace. So I do drop the sessions once a week. You can't like sit and do 6 hours worth in a day, because I think you have to really practice the skills. So I do limit it so you only get 1 session a week. But once you've done all 6 sessions, you've got access to them for a year. And then I also have a free WhatsApp community. So if you're going through the Power of One, you can still join that WhatsApp community if you want to speak to me. And also you can obviously add on one-to-one coaching sessions as well. So it means I can reach more women at a more accessible price tag. Because oh my God, if I could give everyone it for free, I would. Because
Yeah, we have to put our own food on our table and our roofs over our heads.
I do have
Ultimately,
bills
we
to
are
pay.
women in business, and I know
Absolutely.
that you will support anybody that you can, but
Yeah.
ultimately, you've got a family to support and all that good stuff.
But
I
not
think
even,
the,
yeah, it's that, as well as I also, the more people I can help. So, then the more I'll be able to invest in other tools and other resources. So, and I know the value is there, like without any shadow of a doubt.
yeah,
I know the value you get in that year's worth of access is worth it. And it's an investment in yourself, but it's an investment that is a lifelong one, and it will impact all of your relationships. Like I genuinely believe in it so much, but also it enables me to do more. So it's, yes, I have to pay my own bills, absolutely. We all do. And I'm a solo parent, so there's no one paying for the kids clubs apart from me.
clubs and school
Um
dues, and yeah, yeah,
absolutely. But more than that, it's it absolutely is worth the value, and it enables me to help even more people.
yeah. I mean, I think sometimes when we look at, I know I've looked at courses for all different things that I've done, and I'll sit there and I'll think, well, that's potentially quite a bit of money. That's a few £100s that I'm going to need to spend. But it is always thinking about what impact is that really going to have on me. And if we know how fast time goes, I mean, the
Mm.
last month has been
What's it
insane.
gone? Yeah.
It's just been insane. I don't know if it's an older thing. The time seems to go much faster. But even my girls say to me, God, time is passing so quick. If you could say to somebody, within the space of X amount of times, how much better you might be feeling about yourself or your relationship or your communication,
Yeah.
even in a year's time, because we know we'll be talking be talking about Christmas before we know it again.
Yeah.
Um, it's really, as you say, there's a lot of value there for a big transformation. And I think quite often we forget that. We look at the price. I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and they were saying their client was saying, "Oh, but that's £125 an hour." And they were like, yeah, but it's not just the hour, it's the prep work before, the prep work after, the travel, the writing up of the notes. So actually, we get it locked into something is a price, but thinking about that whole transformational piece is massive.
Absolutely. I mean, the Power of One, as of today's date, is £197, but that's for 12 months access. But when you think about, when I always think with clothes, like what's my usage? Like I always, when I'm
Yes.
buying anything, how often am I going to use this? And if it's, and so when I think about these tools, these are tools for life. Like, and
Life. Yeah.
the power of one in particular is if you're going down the route of divorce, this will save you money. Like, because not even if you're going down the route of divorce, even if that is the outcome, this will still save you money because it's going to help you understand how to communicate better. And if you have children, your relationship is for life. It doesn't stop when the kids are 18. Not if you
No.
want to be at grandkids' birthday parties or graduations or weddings or big events. So this is such a worthwhile investment because it's a lifetime investment.
Yes, life
Like,
skills. Yeah.
yeah, so that's why I don't like I absolutely believe in it 100%. So
Yeah.
yes.
No, and if you follow Gemma on any of her socials, you'll see her talking of all day, not all day and every day, but you are very consistent with your messaging on how this really does help people, and always give lots of different ways of thinking about it that makes us go, oh yeah, that's me. Like when you said death of a thousand eye rolls, I'm like, yep, that's me. I think you need to make that into a badge or stickers that we need to have. I just want to go back on something you just said,
Yeah.
actually, because I know you and I have talked with a couple of the other members of within Essex, where you have very much created a collaboration, so that when the way I sort of think about it in my mind, if somebody is going through a divorce, rather than
Mhm.
turning up, at the legal profession and there being arguments and tears and he said, she said, you're helping solve that challenge and help people get to the right emotional place before they're
Yeah,
going to the legal side, which I don't think should ever be underplayed.
absolutely not.
How
I
much
work
help
really
that gives
closely.
people. Yeah,
Absolutely. I work really closely with Louise from Penny Talford, who is a family lawyer. And it means she can do her job because I'm doing mine. So
yeah,
instead of someone sitting, and let me be really transparent, a family lawyer's hourly rate is considerably more than mine, rightly so. It's complex and it's really important we get that right because that is an investment in your future. When you get legal support, that you are investing in protecting yours and your children's future. So but if you're going in there going, yeah, but he's done this and she's done that and they said this, you're literally wasting money. And because that's not the point of the legal process. So making decisions that are driven by emotions, fear, anger, regret, guilt, or I just want it over with, I just want it to go away, I just want it done, has huge long-term implications. But if you're looking for your legal team to help you with that, that's not their job. That's not what they're trained in,
yeah,
and they're a lot more expensive. Whereas if you have got that space outside of the legal system to help you process all of that stuff, which is absolutely valid, it helps you to make sound, rational decisions based on one, the legal system, and two, your future, rather than the pain of your past.
yeah.
And to me, that is so important. And it works really well. Like Louise and I have worked together a long time now, thanks to Women in Business. And so I direct people to her, she directs people to me, and we can really tell when a client's working with both of us. Yeah, it makes
When
a
they
huge
work with both
difference.
of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. So if someone's watching this,
Mhm.
whether it's the minute it goes live, or in 5 years' time, because things with
Mhm.
YouTube stay around forever,
Yeah.
and they're thinking, oh, this really does sound like me and the space I'm in, or the situation I'm in, or I've fallen out of love with him, or whatever it is, what would you say would be the best next step for them to take?
So there's two things. One, follow me on social media in terms of if it's about me, because you need to trust me. Like you have to trust that
Yeah.
I have got your back, and I think that's really important. And to build on that, you can have a free express coaching session with me. It's half an hour. We get right down into it, and you'll get a real flavour for how I work. So if it's with me, there is where I'd start. If it's not with me and you're just like, I don't know where to go, start by thinking about what you want your future to look like, and I don't mean the things you don't want. I mean really focusing on what you do want. And then make some phone calls. Like when we are feeling overwhelmed, clarity, working with facts rather than what ifs, is so much more powerful. And most family lawyers, etc., will offer a free sort of 20 or 30-minute call. So from the legal perspective, ask some questions, speak to a mortgage advisor, like find out the facts so that you're not spiraling. And finding out facts doesn't mean making decisions, but equally it can sometimes help you go, oh
Yeah,
gosh, no, I'm
I
definitely
didn't
not
know
ready
that.
for that.
Yeah.
Or, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes the pressure off. So you can go, no, I'm not there yet, but I know I can if I want to, or it just helps. So fact find, have your team fact find, and then think about the emotional piece, because our friends and families with the best of intentions are biased. They bring their own stuff to the table, which is, well, can you not just make it work for the kids? Like, they bring or they're grabbing the pitchforks. Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
someone and
We
they've
never
got.
liked him anyway. Yeah.
No. So, with the best will in the world, they are biased. So find a safe space, an unbiased space where you can process, you can change your mind, you can deal with all the conflicting emotions that come with a struggling relationship, whatever that relationship it looks like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know when I was struggling, 20 odd years ago, I went and found somebody that I could talk to that didn't know, I sort of wanted to talk to somebody that didn't know me, didn't know my circumstances, didn't know anything
Yeah,
that had gone on. Because I think after sort of a long time in corporate, you build up those layers, don't you? I'm sure
of
you're used to
course.
breaking down those layers. I always used to say I was like
Yeah.
an onion, and every time she would peel like another layer off, and I'm like, oh my God, are we not there yet?
I think that's something to point out though with myself, is that I'm not a counselor. So I am very forward focused. I am a coach. I'm action driven. So that doesn't mean that we won't talk about the past, but that's not where I want us to spend our time. I am here for this chapter
Chapter.
to help you learn, take action, move forward, let go. So I'm not there if you want someone to just pat you on the back, pass you a tissue and then go, there, everything's going to be all right. Then I'm not the
You are,
person for
it's
you.
not Gemma Hall.
No, it's not me. And that's fine. There's a space for that. And it's a really positive space. It's just not where I sit. I haven't got
Yeah.
the patience, to be honest. So I am like, right, come on. How do you want your life to look? How are we going to get you there? And it doesn't matter to me if that's in your relationship or outside of it. I want you to feel good. So I will champion you and support you in whatever direction is right for you. But I'll help you move that accountability, that compassion, that self-love and understanding. You need to have that. You need to not beat yourself up. I'm not going to beat anyone up emotionally, but I am going to help you get momentum and move forward so you don't just get stuck in this loop of, yeah, but what
Spiral.
if, what if? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's where, when you said earlier about, come and watch what you talk about on your socials. As I say, you are very active on your social accounts. People can get a real flavour. So if you are somebody that's looking for somebody, as you said, that's just going to hold out the box of tissues and pat you on the
Yeah,
back, then, you know, as you said, there's plenty of other people out there that are doing
yeah.
that. Thank you for joining me today. It's
My
always lovely to
pleasure.
catch up with you. I know we haven't spoken for a little while. As I said, Gemma's a member of a couple of my groups, Dunmo and Chelmsford. She does an awesome job in both of those because she actually leads those groups for me. I will pop in the show notes all the contacts for where you can find Gemma, including all of her social links, as well as a calendar link if you do want to book that kind of initial call just to see where you are, get some
Mhm.
advice, maybe pushed in some different directions.
Yeah.
If you'd love to meet Gemma and you are perhaps a family solicitor that needs someone like Gemma in your corner to help you with your clients, then just reach out and let us know. We might be able to have you come and visit one of our within groups. But thank you for joining me.
Thanks for
Great
having
to
me,
see you.
Vicky.
Have a
Likewise.
great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.
Take care then.